I slam my hand down on the alarm clock at 5 o'clock a.m. sharp. Another day begins in the same small apartment on the south side of the city. The radiator rattles in the corner and the distant sound of early morning traffic filters through the thin walls. I swing my legs over the edge of the bed, rubbing the sleep from my eyes. My body aches from yesterday's shift at the plant. A familiar ache, the kind a man learns to live with when he's been working blue-collar jobs his whole life. This morning, something feels off, even though I can't put my finger on it yet. Maybe it's the unusual emptiness beside me. My wife Marissa is already out of bed. Not entirely surprising, she sometimes gets up early to have a quiet cup of coffee before the kids wake up. But I sense an uneasy stirring in my gut as I notice the covers on her side are cool, like she's been up a while. I get dressed in my usual uniform. Worn jeans with oil stains that never wash out, a heavy flannel shirt despite the summer heat, the factory floor is always cold at dawn, and steel-toe boots that have seen better days. In the kitchen, I find the coffee pot half full and lukewarm. She brewed it hours ago. On the counter, there's a plate with some scrambled eggs and toast covered with foil. Marissa's handwriting on a sticky note says, "Left early to run an errand. Love you." Breakfast is ready. The food is cold. She must have left pretty early for that errand. I frown, sipping the stale coffee as I look around the cramped kitchen. The peeling linoleum, the flickering fluorescent light overhead. Usually, Marissa waits to have breakfast with me, or at least sees me off. We've been married 12 years, long enough to have routines. Her breaking one stands out like a red flag, but I shake it off. Everyone's allowed to break routine once in a while, I tell myself. Maybe the car needed gas, or she ran to the store for milk before the morning rush. Perfectly normal, right? By 5:30, our two kids tumble out of their bedroom rubbing their eyes. Amelia, 8 years old and feisty even at dawn, complains that her little brother took her blanket again. Tommy, 5, clings to his worn-out teddy bear and blinks at me sleepily. I force a smile. Morning, kiddos. Mama's out doing an errand, but she left breakfast. I split the cold eggs between 2 plates and warm them in the microwave. It's not gourmet, but it'll do. As they eat, I manage to pack their school lunches with the efficiency of a man who's done it 1,000 times. Peanut butter sandwiches, an apple each, and a cookie as a treat. We're a typical working-class family. We get by on my paycheck and the bit Marissa earns from her part-time job at the local pharmacy. The kids go to public school 3 blocks away, where I'll walk them in just a few minutes. It's the kind of neighborhood where people mind their business. Rows of brick buildings tagged with graffiti, a couple of old liquor stores and a laundromat on the corner, and the aroma of someone's frying bacon or arepas in the apartment downstairs. It's gritty, but it's home. Yet today, something nags at me. Where did she go this early? She didn't mention any plans last night. In fact, I recall her being oddly quiet as we got ready for bed. I was dog-tired from overtime and might not have noticed if something was bothering her. Maybe I'm overthinking it. After breakfast, I shrug into my fraying work jacket and herd the kids out the door. The hallway smells of someone's burnt toast. Mrs. Hernandez from 2B is dragging her trash to the curb and waves. I nod back, distracted. The sun's barely up, a dull gray light over the city. As I walk the kids to school, Tommy holds my hand and Amelia skips ahead, her backpack bouncing. I try to pay attention as she babbles about a spelling test, but my mind keeps drifting to that empty spot in bed and the note. By the time I drop them off at school with a kiss on each forehead and a promise to see them tonight, I've mostly convinced myself there's nothing to worry about. Maybe I just haven't had enough sleep. I yawn and rub my stubbled chin. The wedding band on my finger feels tight. I've gained some weight from too many late-night beers and TV dinners while Marissa works her evening shifts at the pharmacy. I make my way to the plant, taking the usual subway route. The train is packed with other blue-collar workers, faces as tired and blank as my own reflection in the smudged window. We all ride in silence, bracing for another day of sweat and machinery, clanging so loud you need earplugs. I try to bury the morning's oddities under the drone of routine. Work, that will distract me. And it does, at least for a few hours. I throw myself into assembling engine parts on the line, muscle memory taking over. The mechanical rhythm, the hiss of pneumatics, the occasional bark from the foreman. It all becomes a familiar backdrop that usually drowns out life's troubles. But during my lunch break, as I sit on a crate in the loading bay picking at a ham sandwich, My phone buzzes with a text. Wiping my hands on my shirt, I check it. It's from Marissa. Busy day, might grab dinner with a friend. Don't wait up. That's it. No explanation of the morning errand, no mention of which friend. Something's definitely off. She's not one to be so vague. We always at least say which friend, or what's going on with the kids' pickup if one of us can't make it. I have to pick up the kids now, obviously. She assumed I would. It's fine, I don't mind, but normally there'd be more coordination. A knot of worry forms in my stomach. What friend is she meeting? She doesn't have many close pals around here, and certainly none I recall meeting for dinner on a weekday. I type back, all right, I'll get the kids. Be safe. My thumb hovers over the send button. I hesitate, wanting to ask where she went this morning or which friend this is, but in the end I send the short reply as is. Asking outright over text feels wrong. If something is going on, I want to see her face when she answers. I finish my shift distracted, nearly screwing up a part installation twice. My foreman, Rick, notices my head's not in it and snaps, "Hey, focus, man. You want your damn hand crushed?" I mutter an apology and force myself to pay attention to the last hour of the day. When the whistle blows, I clock out and rush to school to collect Amelia and Tommy from the aftercare program. They chatter about their day as we ride the subway home. I nod and at the right places, but my mind is elsewhere. We climb the stairs to our second-floor unit and I jangle my keys to open the door, ushering the kids in. The apartment is still and quiet. No savory smell of dinner on the stove, no music playing, things I'd normally expect if Marissa were home from the pharmacy at this hour. I glance at the clock. It's nearly 6 p.m. She must still be out with that mysterious friend. "Can we order pizza, Dad?" Amelia asks, already dropping her backpack on the couch and picking up the TV remote. I should say no, money's tight until payday, but tonight I don't have the spirit to cook. "Sure," I sigh. "Go easy on the TV volume and do your homework after we eat, all right?" She flashes a grin. "Cool." Tommy cheers and runs to get his superhero action figures to play with in the living room. I place the pizza order and sink into a chair at the small dining table. From here, I have a clear view down the hallway to our bedroom. The door is open, darkness inside. There's a strange feeling curling in my chest, a mix of dread and anger that I can't justify yet. Nothing concrete, just little inconsistencies. Early errands, vague texts, odd silence. I trust my wife, at least I think I do. We've had our ups and downs like any marriage, but we were solid, or so I believed. I run my calloused fingers through my hair. Maybe she really did have an errand. Maybe she's with a girlfriend I haven't heard about because I've been working so much overtime. I reason with myself, trying to stay calm. The pizza arrives, and the kids and I eat while watching a silly cartoon. I laugh at the right moments for the kids' sake, but inside my guts twist a little tighter each minute. By 8 p.m., I've bathed them and gotten them into bed. Still no sign of Marissa. I text her, "Hey, you okay? Kids in bed. We missed you at dinner." No response. It's 9:30 when I finally hear the front door's faint click. I'm sitting in the darkened living room, a single lamp on, just waiting. My heart is pounding, though I pretend to be absorbed in a late-night sports recap on TV. The door opens, and in she walks, in her casual jeans and a blouse, hair a little messy like she was in a rush or the wind caught it. She startles slightly seeing me on the couch. "Oh, hey," she says softly, almost slurring. "You're up." I catch a whiff as she hangs her purse. Is that wine on her breath? She's not drunk, but she's had a glass or two, I'd bet. Marissa has a slight flush in her cheeks. She looks guilty about something. "Yeah, I waited up," I reply evenly, muting the TV. I keep my face neutral, though my pulse is thudding in my ears. "How was dinner?" "It was fine," she says quickly. "Just, catching up with an old friend." She won't meet my gaze. She kicks off her flats and crosses the room to me, leaning down to kiss my cheek. Her lips are warm, and she smells of her jasmine perfume, the one she wears on special occasions. "Thanks for getting the kids. Sorry I didn't get to cook." "It's okay." I study her face. She's avoiding eye contact by fussing with her hair, tucking it behind her ear. I can't help it. The question comes out flat. "What friend did you meet again? Anyone I know?" For a split second, I see panic in her green eyes. Then it's gone, replaced by a too casual smile. "Oh, just an old coworker from the pharmacy. You haven't met her. She moved a few towns over. We lost touch and..." Well, she was in the area, so I nod slowly. What's her name? Your friend? She frowned slightly, probably wondering why I'm interrogating her. Janine, she says after a pause, pulling a name from thin air, or maybe it's real. I have no idea. I've never heard of Janine. How come you never mentioned her before? I press. Marissa's eyes narrow just a fraction. I did, once, I think. Ages ago. Anyway, it was last minute. Look, I'm beat, okay? We had a couple glasses of wine. I'm just gonna shower and hit the bed. Before I can say more, she's already retreating down the hall. The bathroom door closes, and a moment later I hear the shower turn on. I sit there in the dim living room, jaw clenched so hard it hurts. She's lying. I know it in my bones now. I've been with this woman for over a decade. I know her tells. The way her voice got higher, the way she babbled details that didn't add up. The smell of wine and the fact she got dressed up in perfume for a friend. And no mention of that errand from the morning at all. My hands tremble slightly. I take a deep breath and exhale slowly, trying to keep calm. If I explode now without proof, it could just turn into a nasty fight and more lies. I need to know what's really going on. As the shower continues to run, I find myself quietly rising and walking down the hall to our bedroom. The kids are asleep in their room across from ours. Their soft breathing drifts through the cracked door. In our bedroom, the air is tinged with the faint scent of Marissa's perfume and something else. Maybe the cologne of another person? I can't be sure, it might be in my head. The lamp on the bedside table is off, but the streetlight outside casts just enough glow for me to see. I stand there, heart heavy, eyes roaming over the room. Nothing looks obviously out of place. The bed is made. She did that this morning before leaving, I guess. Her phone is not on the charger. She probably took it into the bathroom. Typical. She guards that phone more lately. I move to her dresser. My breath catches. I'm not even sure what I'm looking for, maybe some clue. I slide open the top drawer where she keeps socks and underwear, feeling a pang of guilt and anger all at once. And that's when I see it. In the back of the drawer, tucked under some folded tights, something metallic gleams in the low light. I carefully push aside the clothes and retrieve it. A keyring. On it jingle two sets of keys, identical keys, the exact same make and cut as our house keys. I hold them up, confusion turning to a sick certainty in my gut. Why does she have two sets of our house keys? We only ever needed one spare, which I carry. These look new. There's no reason for her to have two. Absolutely none. Unless she made an extra set. My mind races. No reason. Unless she gave a key to someone. Yes, a key for someone else, someone she's letting into our home when I'm not around. While I'm at work or on overnight shifts or, God forbid, with our kids around? Chapter 2. My hands feel icy on the metal as I realize I've been holding my breath. I exhale shakily, carefully placing the keys back exactly where I found them and covering them again with the tights. My heart hammers against my ribs as I step back from the dresser, quietly closing the drawer. Every instinct in me wants to rip the bathroom door open and confront her right now, demand to know who the hell those keys are for. But a colder, smarter part of me takes over. A voice in the back of my mind telling me to hold on. Get proof, it whispers. Don't just accuse her with nothing but a gut feeling and a pair of keys. She'll deny everything, twist it around, make me seem crazy. No, I need to catch her in the act or gather evidence so concrete she can't talk her way out of it. I turn and slip out of the bedroom back to the living room just as the shower shuts off. I sink onto the couch again, wiping sweat from my brow. My reflection in the dark TV screen looks back at me. A man on the brink, face pale, eyes hardened. When Marissa emerges in her robe, towel drying her hair, I act casual. I force a yawn and stretch. I'm heading to bed, I mutter, keeping my voice as normal as I can muster. She gives me a tentative smile that I can barely stand to see right now. Okay, I'll be right there. I nod and trudge back to the bedroom, my feet heavy as lead. Crawling under the covers, I turn away from her side as she comes in and slips a nightshirt on under her robe. My body is stiff as a board, feigning exhaustion. She slides into bed beside me, and for a moment I feel her eyes on my back. My heart pounds, wondering if she can sense anything. But after a minute, she switches off the lamp and settles down, keeping a careful few inches of distance between us. We never even say goodnight. In the darkness, I stare at the wall, eyes wide open. Sleep isn't coming anytime soon. My mind is racing in 100 directions at once, yet one thought cuts through all the noise with crystal clarity. My wife might be having an affair. The possibility alone makes my stomach churn and my fists clench under the blanket. I feel a toxic mix of devastation and rage building inside me. Part of me still hopes there's another explanation. But with every lie she's told tonight, every strange behavior, that hope is shrinking. Still, I won't condemn her on suspicion alone. I need to know. And once I do, I swallow hard, my throat dry. Once I have the truth, there will be no forgiveness, no mercy. If she's betraying me, betraying our children, then she's about to unleash a side of me she's never seen. I'll make her regret every deceitful step she took. I lie there for hours, long after her breathing slows into the pattern of deep sleep. At some point near dawn, I drift into a fitful half-sleep, nightmares of faceless men with my house key haunting me behind closed eyelids. When I open my eyes again, watery gray morning light is seeping through the thin curtains. The alarm clock reads 6:12 a.m. I overslept, having forgotten to set it in my turmoil. Marissa is already up and moving in the kitchen, judging by the clink of dishes I hear. I swing out of bed, head pounding from lack of proper rest and the onslaught of stress. For a moment I consider calling in sick. I have some days saved up. But no. Routine might keep her thinking everything is normal and I can't afford to raise her suspicions. Plus, I might need those sick days later for other purposes. I throw on a shirt and yesterday's jeans and shuffle to the kitchen. I find Marissa at the stove, frying up some bacon. The kids are still asleep, it's early for them. She turns when she hears me and smiles, a picture of domestic warmth. It makes me sick for a beat how normal she's pretending everything is. "Morning," she says cheerily, like last night never happened, like she didn't come home smelling of wine and lies. I figured I'd make a nice breakfast since I missed dinner. "Bacon and pancakes, okay?" I force a nod and a gruff, "Sure." I pour myself coffee, my hands still trembling ever so slightly. I hope she doesn't notice. As she turns back to flip a pancake, I muster a casual tone. "Hey, I was looking for my old wristwatch last night in the dresser," I lie, keeping my eyes on my coffee. "When I was digging around, I noticed you had a couple of spare house keys in there. What are those for?" The question hangs in the air. I don't have to look at her to know she heard it. I can feel the brief pause in her movement, the slightest tension. In the quiet kitchen, the sizzle of bacon seems suddenly loud. "Oh, those," she answers after a moment, voice light. I got a copy made to give to the neighbor. You know, Mrs. Hernandez in 2B. I thought maybe we could leave a spare with her in case of emergency. And one extra just to have, I guess. I completely forgot to mention it." She laughs lightly, a forced little chuckle. "Sorry, I should have told you. It was kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing." I lift the mug to my lips to hide the disgust twisting my face. That was smooth, I'll give her that. Quick thinking, mixing a little truth with lies. We did talk months ago about possibly giving a key to a neighbor for emergencies, but we never followed through. Now she's hijacked that old idea as cover. "Mrs. Hernandez, huh?" I say, keeping my voice neutral. I take a sip of the bitter coffee. "Yeah, we did talk about that once, so you already gave her one set?" "Not yet," Marissa replies, flipping the bacon with a bit too much focus. "I was going to, maybe later this week. I just haven't run into her at a good time." I glance at my wife. She's keeping her face turned away, busying herself with the food. A lock of her dark hair falls over her face and she brushes it back with the back of her hand, still not meeting my eyes. I feel a cold smile threaten at the corner of my mouth. She's lying through her teeth and she probably thinks I bought it. "All right, good thinking," I say lightly, as if satisfied. "It's good to have a spare with a neighbor we trust." She visibly relaxes, shoulders losing a bit of their tension. "Exactly," she says, daring a quick smile toward me. "I'll give one to her soon." I grunt in acknowledgement and pretend to turn my attention to the morning news on the small kitchen TV. My heart is pounding. So that's her game. One set for the neighbor, that's her official story. But I know damn well both those keys are for our place, and none have changed hands yet. So who was she really planning to give that second set to? Or has she already, and she took it back for some reason? I chew on that thought as I mechanically eat the pancakes and bacon she serves me a few minutes later. They taste like ash in my mouth, Across the table, she prattles on about some customer at the pharmacy and how the kids have a field trip next week, as if everything's normal. I nod and throw in the occasional uh-huh, playing the tired, oblivious husband. Inside, my mind is working overtime. After breakfast, I help get the kids ready for school as usual. Marissa is acting extra affectionate with them this morning. She practically smothers them in kisses before we head out the door. Guilt, perhaps? The thought that she might feel guilty enough to overcompensate with the kids makes my blood simmer. She says she's off work today and will be home doing some cleaning and laundry. I just nod. I know better than to trust that. She might be planning to sneak out the moment I'm gone. I walk the kids to school in a daze. When I hug them goodbye, I hold on a second longer than usual. My sweet Amelia and little Tommy, they're innocent in all this. They love their mom to pieces. The idea of them finding out what she's done, or worse, being hurt by it, steals my resolve. I will not let them get caught in the crossfire. Whatever I do, I have to protect them and make sure they end up with me when the dust settles. On the way back, instead of going straight to the subway for work, I make a short detour. I find Mrs. Hernandez out front, watering the small patch of grass by the stoop of our building. She's an elderly widow, kind and sharp-eyed. "Morning, Mrs. H," I greet with a wave. She looks up and beams. "Oh, good morning, dear. Off to work a bit late today." I nod, stepping closer under the guise of being neighborly. Lowering my voice, I ask, "Hey, did my wife mention giving you a house key to hold on to?" Mrs. Hernandez pauses her watering and furrows her brow. "A key? No, she hasn't said anything about that." "I'd be happy to, of course, if you need. I'm home most days, but she didn't bring it up." I swallow the bitter taste in my mouth. That confirms it. Marissa hasn't actually given any key to our neighbor yet. The excuse she gave me was a lie, plain and simple. "Ah, I see. Maybe she was just planning to but hasn't gotten around to it," I say, forcing a polite smile. "Well, you tell her I'm available any time if you need me to hold a spare key," the old lady says kindly. I nod. "Sure thing. Have a good day, ma'am." Walking away, I feel the last shred of doubt shrivel and die. My wife is cheating. She's made copies of our keys to facilitate it. She lied straight to my face about it this morning without blinking. By the time I board the subway to work, a cold fury has settled over me like a dark cloud. I stand strap-hanging amid the jostling crowd, replaying every lie, every suspicious detail. The perfume, the wine, the mysterious friend, the keys. Piece by piece, it forms a damning picture. I recall how she'd been in recent weeks, distant sometimes, unusually cheerful others, more time on her appearance when going out with friends or running errands. How could I have been so blind? My jaw tightens as I grip the metal pole. There's no escaping it now. She's betrayed me and our family. The pain of that realization lances through me, but I clamp down on it. I can't fall apart. I need to stay focused. Because now that I know, it's time to think about what I'm going to do. I'm no saint, but I've been a good husband, a good father. I work long hours to provide. I've never strayed, never laid a hand on her in anger. We built a life together brick by brick, and I thought it meant as much to her as it does to me. Apparently not. Beneath the hurt, anger smolders. I'm not talking the fiery, explosive kind of anger. No, this is something colder, heavier, like a slab of iron heating slowly in my gut. If I let it, it could drive me to do something reckless. But I won't give her the satisfaction of seeing me lose control. No, I'm going to do this right. Methodically. She might think she's gotten away with it, that I'm just a dumb working stiff who doesn't pay attention. She's going to learn just how wrong she is. As the train screeches toward my stop, I start forming a plan in my head. First, I have to find out who the other man is and gather undeniable proof of the affair. Evidence. So she can't weasel out of it or spin some story to make me the bad guy. Maybe I'll tailor, catch them together somehow. The thought of seeing it with my own eyes makes me sick, but it might be the only way. Second, I need to figure out what to do when I have that proof. Divorce is a given. I'm not staying with a cheater. Not a chance in hell. But I won't be the one leaving my house, and I sure as hell won't leave my kids with her if I can help it. I'll be damned if that lying cheat gets to play happy family with my children while sneaking around with some lover. I clench my fists, knuckles going white. The crowd around me on the subway platform gives me a wide berth as I shoulder my way outside. It's a sunny day, mocking the darkness swirling inside me. At work, I go through the motions in a haze. I probably could have skipped and not been noticed today. The foreman is out and crew's doing routine tasks. But being here gives me time to coolly think away from her. Between operating the press and hauling engine parts, I start sketching mental notes of what needs to be done. By the time my shift ends, I have the rough outline of a course of action. Gather evidence, secure a lawyer, protect my assets and kids, then confront and destroy the lies. Not necessarily in that order, and some steps might happen in parallel, but it feels good to have a direction. This won't be the kind of revenge you see in movies with screaming matches or impulsive violence. No, I intend to be as cold as ice. I'll hit her where it truly hurts, her wallet, her pride, her sense of security. I'll take everything I can from her, and then some. And whoever the bastard is that thought he could waltz into my home and into my wife's bed, he's on my list too. The thought of making them suffer sends a small thrill through my veins, a hunger for justice or maybe just plain vengeance. I get home that evening to find the apartment tidier than usual, the smell of lemon cleaner in the air. True to her word, Marissa has been cleaning. If I didn't know better, I'd think she was just a doting housewife who spent her day doing chores. She greets me with a nervous energy, peppering me with questions about my day, offering me a cold beer before I can even take off my boots. I play along, quiet and tired from work. We eat dinner with the kids. She actually cooked tonight. Another gesture of contrition, perhaps, or more guilt offerings. She's talkative, asking the kids about school, planning a family movie night for the weekend. I nod and give one-word answers, pretending I'm just worn out. Inside, I'm numb, observing her like a bug under a jar. Every smile she gives the children, every time she lightly touches my hand as if nothing's wrong, it's all an act, and I know it now. There's a hollowness to her cheer. Or maybe that's just my imagination, filtering everything through this new lens of betrayal. After dinner, I volunteer to do the dishes, needing an excuse for some space. As I scrub plates, I hear her in the living room helping Tommy with a puzzle, her voice sweet and patient. That used to melt my heart. Now, it just curdles my stomach. I dry my hands and quietly slip away to our bedroom, locking the door. If I'm going to get evidence, the easiest place to start might be right here. I know she likely keeps her phone close, but maybe her laptop or something else could have clues. She has an old laptop in the closet she sometimes uses for photos and emails. I pull it out from under a pile of shoeboxes. It's password protected, of course. I try a couple of obvious ones, our anniversary, her birthday. No luck. She changed it recently, looks like. Figures. I'll come back to that later. I open her bedside drawer next, carefully rummaging. I already found the keys there. Under some books and lotion, there's not much else of note except her journal. It's one of those faux leather-bound notebooks. I didn't even know she kept a journal anymore. She used to years ago, then stopped mentioning it. I feel a pang of hesitation. Reading your spouse's journal is a huge breach of privacy. But then, what about what she's done to our marriage? Any right to privacy kind of went out the window when she decided to shack up with someone else. Swallowing my scruples, I open it. Most of it is mundane or dated months back. Random entries about feeling bored or lonely, some complaints about my long work hours, notes about the kids. Then I hit a more recent entry from a few weeks ago. Vague references to feeling alive again. And, finally, something just for me. My jaw tightens as I scan ahead. The name isn't mentioned, but there are nauseatingly poetic lines about guilt and excitement, about secret meetings and stolen kisses making her feel youthful. The last entry is a couple weeks old and reads, "I know it's wrong, but I can't stop. When I'm with him, all the dull pieces of my life light up. I wish I could explain it to you, but you wouldn't understand. This is our little secret, and no one gets hurt if they don't know." My vision goes red at the edges as I snap the journal shut, my hands trembling. No one gets hurt if they don't know. She actually wrote that, as if my ignorance made her betrayal harmless. As if her happiness with this bastard somehow outweighs the vows she made or the stability of our children's home. I take a few steadying breaths. I could confront her with this right now, shove the journal in her face. But it's still just her words, not proof of who or concrete evidence of acts. She could claim it's fantasy or some other bull. No, I need more. I hear a knock at the door. Her voice muffled. "You okay in there? You've been quiet." Damn, she might be wondering why I locked the door. I quickly slide the journal back and crack the door open, giving her a weary smile. "Yeah, sorry." Stomach's a bit off. I was in the bathroom. Be out in a sec. Her eyes flick past me, maybe noticing the closet door slightly ajar or something, but she doesn't comment. Oh, okay. I was thinking of turning in early. I'm wiped. You mind getting the kids down in a bit? Sure, I say. I'll handle it. She smiles, looking genuinely grateful. The gall of it makes me want to scream at her right there, but I keep it together. She pads off to the bathroom to brush her teeth. I put the laptop back and close the closet. That journal entry is plenty proof to me of the affair, but it won't hold up anywhere official. And I still want to know who this guy is. He's not named, which is unsurprising if she was scared someone might find the journal. Smart of her, I guess, but I'll find out soon enough. That night, I tuck the kids in and read them a story, trying to keep my voice steady and warm. They have no idea anything's wrong. Why would they? To them, we're still a happy little family. The thought almost breaks me, but I stay strong for them. By the time I get to bed, Marissa is already out like a light, or pretending to be. I doubt she's actually asleep. Guilt's probably weighing on her, but who knows? Maybe the affair makes her sleep like a baby, content from whatever the hell they do together. I wouldn't. No. I haven't touched her in weeks intimately. She'd been avoiding closeness with excuses of being tired or unwell. In retrospect, I bet she was getting her fill elsewhere. I lay on my back, staring at the ceiling, running through tomorrow's tasks. I've decided I will call out of work. I need the time more for this than for punching a clock. First thing, I'm going to find a lawyer. I recall a guy from high school, Eddie, who went into family law and has a practice downtown. We ain't close, but he might give me a consult. If not him, I'll find someone else. An aggressive divorce attorney who can advise me how to pull the rug out from under her legally. I also plan to follow her if possible to catch her meeting this lover. Tomorrow's Friday, and she mentioned no work today, which was true, and tomorrow she works an evening pharmacy shift usually. But maybe she'll sneak out during the day or meet him after her shift. Actually, Friday nights she sometimes claims she's covering a double or goes out with pharmacy coworkers. Have those been lies too? Probably. If she's working tomorrow, her guard might be down on the weekend. Perhaps they meet on Saturdays when I sometimes take the kids to the park or go run errands. This weekend, I'll keep the kids close and keep an eye on her. Maybe pretend to leave and double back. At some point soon, I'll also quietly secure our bank accounts. We have a joint savings and checking. I might move some funds into an account solely in my name before anything blows up. I don't trust her not to try to screw me financially if she knows I know. As these cold calculations settle in my mind, I realize how far I've already gone in just a day. Less than 24 hours ago, I was a normal husband with minor worries. Now I feel like I'm planning for war. Because that's what this is going to be, a war. She doesn't know it yet, but she started it by betraying me, and I'm going to finish it. Chapter 3. Friday morning dawns clear and bright, belying the storm in my life. I wake up before the alarm with a sense of grim purpose. Today is about preparation. If this is war, I need to arm myself properly. I call into work and feign a gravelly voice, mumbling about a stomach virus. My boss isn't pleased. Short notice callouts never are, but I've rarely taken a sick day in years, so he gives me a pass. The moment I hang up, I feel a small relief. I need every hour today to set the stage for what's coming. Marissa seems a little surprised to see me still home as she gets the kids ready for school. I shrug and mention the supposed stomach bug. Must have been something I ate, I say. I'll probably just rest today. Concern flashes in her eyes, or at least she fakes it well. Oh no, do you need anything? I can call in late to work. I wave it off. Nah, I'll be fine. You go on. I'll just sleep it off. She hesitates a moment, then nods. Part of me wonders if she's worried about leaving me home alone, perhaps afraid I'll snoop. But I keep my act up, clutching my stomach and wincing dramatically for effect. Once she's out the door with the kids, I spring into action. The first order of business, find a lawyer. I remember that my old classmate Eddie has a law practice now. We haven't talked in ages, but desperate times. I dig out my phone and scroll through contacts. Miraculously, I still have his number saved. I step out onto the fire escape to make the call, just in case Marissa forgot something and comes back in. The morning air is cool as I dial. Law offices of Edward Mancini, a chipper secretary answers. Hi, is Eddie, Mr. Mancini, available? This is an old friend. I say, feeling oddly self-conscious. After a short pause, a familiar male voice comes on the line. This is Edward Mancini. Who am I speaking with? Eddie, it's me, Mike Dawson from Lincoln High. There's a beat, then a surprised laugh. Mike, damn, been a long time. How are you, man? His friendliness momentarily disarms me. I've been better, Eddie, I admit. Listen, I need a divorce lawyer. Fast. The casual warmth drains from his voice as professionalism sets in. I see. Sorry to hear that. Are you in some trouble right now? My wife's been unfaithful, I say bluntly. The word tastes bitter. I want to file for divorce and, if possible, get full custody of our kids. I need advice on protecting myself, financially and legally. It's going to get ugly. He doesn't miss a beat. I understand. Why don't you come by the office this morning? I've got a slot at 10 a.m. We can talk it through, see what the options are. Thank you. I'll be there. I hang up and blow out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Step 1. In motion. Next, I head to our small desk in the corner of the living room where we keep bills and financial files. I boot up our old desktop computer and log into the online banking. There isn't a huge amount in our checking and savings, years of living paycheck to paycheck, but there's enough that I don't want her blowing it on her new life or an expensive lawyer of her own. I transfer half of the joint savings into an account I have in my name only. It's an account she never really paid attention to. I opened it years ago to put aside a bit from side gigs. I doubt she even remembers it exists. We never kept secrets about money per se, but right now I have no qualms about doing this quietly. A voice in my head, the petty, angry part, urges me to take it all, clean her out. But I restrain myself to half for now, which is roughly what would be mine anyway in a fair split. The rest I leave, so it doesn't trigger suspicion immediately if she checks balances. I also open our latest credit card statement. My jaw tightens as I scan lines of charges. There. Last Tuesday, a $120 bill at La Trattoria, a nice Italian restaurant across town. I haven't been to a restaurant in months, certainly not that one. Another line. A $200 charge at a day spa 3 weeks ago. She sure didn't treat me to any spa day. There are a few cash withdrawals I don't recall us needing. Likely money she used to pay for things in ways that wouldn't leave a trail. My hands shake with anger as I print out the statements. Evidence of financial betrayal may not mean much legally, but it fuels my resolve. She spent our money on them. I also jot down account numbers, insurance policies, anything I can think of. I don't exactly know what I'll need, but I gather it all in a folder. By 9:30, I'm dressed in clean jeans and a button-down. A feeble attempt to look a bit presentable for the lawyer. I grab that folder of documents and head out. My stomach is too churned up to eat, running purely on adrenaline and coffee. Eddie's office is in a modest building downtown. He greets me in the lobby, a sturdy guy in his late 30s like me, hair thinning a bit, suit a little rumpled. We shake hands and he gives me a quick once-over. I probably look like hell. Bloodshot eyes, drawn face. In his office, I waste no time. I spill everything. The suspicious behavior, the keys, the confirmed lies, even reading her journal. He listens carefully, occasionally taking notes. It's strange to hear myself saying these things out loud, but with each word the reality hardens. When I finish, Eddie leans back. All right. First off, I'm sorry you're going through this. It's a nasty situation, but let's talk strategy. You mentioned you want full custody of the kids and to protect your assets. Let me be frank. Courts usually prefer joint custody unless one parent is clearly unfit. Infidelity by itself typically isn't enough to strip someone of custody. It can factor in if it directly affected the children's well-being, though. I nod, my jaw clenched. If she's bringing some stranger into my home around my kids, that could be argued as poor judgment, but unless the person is dangerous or the kids were neglected, it might not carry as much weight as we'd like, he cautions. However, if we can show she left the kids unsupervised to carry on the affair, or expose them to harmful situations, that would help your case a lot. I think back. I don't have solid proof of neglect, but I suspect she might have left them alone once or twice. I just don't know specifics. I usually was with them, or she took them if I was away. He nods. We can work with what we have. We definitely document that she brought someone into the house. That goes to her character and judgment. Now, assets. Texas is a community property state. Everything's 50-50 generally. He must recall we grew up here in Texas. But if she spent marital funds on the affair, you could argue for reimbursement or a larger share. You have those credit card statements, which is good, I interject. What about our apartment? We rent, but all the furniture, the car, I paid for most of that. He shrugs. Property you acquired during the marriage is joint, regardless of who paid. But since you guys don't own a home, it's mostly splitting possessions and accounts. You've already moved some money, I assume. I stiffen, wondering if I should admit it. But he's on my side. Yeah, I pulled about half our savings. He offers a wry smile. Not the worst idea to secure what's yours. Just don't go overboard and leave her destitute before the proceedings, or a judge might frown on it. Half is fair game. Trust me, I plan to leave her with nothing after all this, but I'm not stupid. I'll play by the rules, at least the ones that matter, I say coldly. Eddie's eyes glint. He can see my anger. I get it. Now, about proof of the affair. We might not even need it if she doesn't contest the divorce. But if you want to file on grounds of adultery, you'll need some evidence. Photos, messages, a PI's report, something solid. I'll get it, I say immediately. I'm planning to catch her with him, if I can stomach it. He raises an eyebrow. Be careful, Mike. Don't do something that'll land you in jail. Catch them, but keep your cool. You losing it could backfire disastrously, legally and for your kids. I won't lay a hand on her, don't worry, I replied, deliberately not mentioning what I might do to the man. This is more about showing her I know and making sure I have what I need to bury her in court if I have to. All right. When you do get that proof, document it every way you can. If it's photos, timestamp them. If possible, have a witness like a PI, but I know money's tight. Just be smart. I nod. I will. We go over a few more details. He'll start drafting the divorce petition citing adultery as the fault ground. He explains how temporary orders work. We might seek temporary custody pending the final outcome. He thinks we can at least get primary custody for me if she's reasonable or if we show cause. If she fights, it'll be a battle. Make sure you have somewhere for the kids to stay if things blow up at home, he advises. And if there's any confrontation, try to keep the kids from seeing it. Courts care about that. I've already thought of that, I say. They won't be around when it goes down. Before I leave, he puts a hand on my shoulder. One more thing. Don't engage with the other man beyond what's necessary. I know you want revenge, but your priority is your kids and securing your future. Getting into a brawl or something could jeopardize that? I force a tight smile. Thanks, Eddie. I appreciate everything. I'll keep my head. Walking out of that office, I feel both heavy and oddly empowered. There's a long road ahead, but I've got an ally and a plan forming. Back at home, I spend the afternoon on more groundwork. I make sure I have copies of all important documents stashed safely. I hide the folder in the trunk of my car under the spare tire, just in case. If Marissa gets wind of anything, I don't want her destroying evidence or taking papers. I also pay a visit to the bank in person and withdraw a few thousand in cash from the joint account, leaving just enough that the next few bills won't bounce. If she checks, maybe she'll think I paid some bills or something. Hard to say. She's never been big on monitoring our finances. She leaves most of that to me. My last stop is a hardware store. I purchase a small motion-activated recording camera, one of those nanny cam things that save to an SD card. It's cheap, and I figure I can hide it in the bedroom or living room to capture anything that happens in my absence. It might come in handy as evidence, or at least information. As the afternoon sun dips low, I hear Marissa and the kids coming up the stairs. I tuck the camera away for now. I'll set it up tomorrow. I open the door, greeting them with a weary smile. Feeling a bit better, I report. Might have been a 24-hour bug. Glad to hear, Marissa says, eyeing me for a moment. Is that suspicion or just concern? Hard to tell. Through dinner, I play up being tired but recovering. The kids chatter about their day. Marissa mentions her work was uneventful. I notice she doesn't volunteer any plans for the weekend, which is good, because I'm about to set a trap and I want her to fall for it. After we put the kids to bed, I casually mention an upcoming union meeting out of town. It's this Saturday evening, I say, pretending to scroll on my phone. I forgot I signed up to attend. Might be good networking, you know? Foreman might be there. Oh? She looks up from folding laundry. Yeah, and since it's a bit of a drive, I'm thinking I'll stay over at my brother's place near Greenville that night instead of coming back late. Make a little trip of it. I can almost see the wheels turning behind her eyes. I'm giving her an entirely free Saturday night, no husband, no kids. I make sure to add, I'll probably take the kids to my mom's for a sleepover, so you don't have to worry about them while I'm gone. It's too perfect an opportunity for her. She tries to act indifferent. Oh, all right. I mean, if it's important for work, sure. I can manage a night alone. I shrug. If you don't mind. Maybe enjoy some me time, take a long bath or something. You've earned a rest. The irony of my words nearly chokes me. Earned a rest? She's been doing plenty of resting behind my back. But I keep my face neutral. She smiles. Thanks for thinking of me. A quiet night actually sounds nice. I catch a flicker in her gaze. Excitement? Relief? It's subtle, but it's there. She's already planning. I can feel it. I go to bed early, claiming lingering fatigue. In truth, I'm wide awake, mind racing through tomorrow's scheme. If she takes the bait tomorrow night, I'll finally come face to face with the truth. And God have mercy on them, because I sure as hell won't. Saturday creeps by. I maintain the facade of normalcy. In the morning, I even suggest we take the kids to the park as a family. Perhaps out of guilt, she agrees, and we spend an oddly pleasant couple of hours pushing swings and eating hot dogs from a cart. If someone looked at us, we'd seem like the picture of a happy family. It's surreal, knowing what I know. In the afternoon, I drop the kids at my mother's house. Grandma was delighted to have them for the night when I called her. I vaguely said we had a work thing. She doesn't need the messy details yet. Back home, I find Marissa showered and primping herself a bit. She's in casual clothes now, but I notice she shaved her legs, the tiny nicks of a fresh razor on her skin as she towel dries her hair in her robe. Would she do that just for a night alone? Doubtful. My gut churns with anger and a twisted anticipation. I prepare to leave around 5 p.m. I pack an overnight bag with some clothes. Inside, I also stash the little camera and a voice recorder I found in my old college stuff, just tools in case. I load it into my car and pull out of our parking spot with a wave to her. She waves back from the window, looking for all the world like a loving wife seeing her husband off. I drive 2 blocks away, then circle back and park on a side street out of view. The dusk is falling. I quietly creep back towards our building through the alley, making sure no one sees me. The building has a back entrance to the stairwell. I slip in with my key. Heart pounding, I climb up to our floor and ease open the stairwell door. From here, I can partially see the door to our apartment at the end of the hallway. I take up a position in the shadows near the storage room and listen. After about 20 minutes, I hear the faint click of our apartment door opening. My heart skips a beat. I peek out and see Marissa coming out, now dressed in a beautiful dark blouse and tight jeans, her hair styled. She looks down the hallway, then opens our door slightly and disappears down the stairs for a moment. She must have run downstairs to open the front door for someone, most likely him. I glide down the hallway like a ghost and slip into our apartment through the half-open door, pressing myself against the wall in the hallway. My own front door is ajar. I leave it that way so as not to make any noise. Adrenaline is pumping. My hands are shaking as I hear footsteps coming up the stairs. 2 pairs. One of them is definitely Marissa's light footsteps. The others are heavier, masculine. They get closer, and I hear muffled voices, her playful giggle that makes my stomach twist. Through the crack, I see for the first time, Marissa enters backwards, leading him by the hand, laughing quietly. Then he enters and she closes the door behind them. He is tall, maybe 6 feet, with an athletic build. He is over 40, with blonde hair. Attractive, I suppose. He is carrying a brown paper bag. Judging by the shape of the bottle sticking out of the bag, it contains wine. I feel an instinctive urge to jump out and smash the bottle over his head, but I hold back. Not yet. I need to see this through to the end, to commit the evidence to memory if nothing else. My phone is in my hand, camera ready. I've muted the sound and turned off the flash. They don't notice me in the dark corner of the hallway. They are too absorbed in each other. I still can't believe we're doing this here, the man whispers, sounding excited. In your own house. She playfully silences him. He's away until tomorrow and the kids are gone. We're all alone. Her voice is tinged with a sensual tone that I hardly recognize. She never talks to me like that. He puts his bag on the console table and immediately pulls her toward him. My vision narrows. It's one thing to suspect and even read suggestive lines in a diary, but to see my wife passionately embracing another man in our home, I can barely contain myself. I breathe heavily, quietly recording a few seconds of darkness on my phone. The proof I need, and a sight I will never be able to forget. She takes him by the hand and leads him into our bedroom. They pass a few feet away from me. I could reach out and grab him, break his neck right now. No, not yet. I follow them down the short hallway, keeping my distance and staying in the shadows. They are too absorbed in each other to notice the silent ghost following them. At the bedroom door, she turns to him with a mischievous smile. I have to say, she purrs, seeing you here, in my space, it's such a rush. He laughs softly. Every word she says is like a knife in my back. The fact that she can feel this way with him and not with me makes the betrayal even more painful. They enter the bedroom, leaving the door ajar. He puts the wine on the nightstand, and she goes to close the curtains, probably so that no one from the neighboring building can look inside. This envelops the room in a dim, shadowy light. I sneak up to the door, position myself so that I can't be seen, and point my phone camera through the crack. I press the record button again. The man turns to her. Are you sure he doesn't have cameras or anything like that? He asks suddenly, his voice tinged with nervousness. Marissa laughs lightly and puts her hand on his cheek. Of course not. Mike wouldn't know how to install it even if he wanted to. He trusts me. The venom in those last words, the casual disregard for my intelligence, almost makes me growl out loud. She has no idea how much I can see right now. Enough about him, she whispers. Tonight is about us. It's all I can take. I've gotten the proof, and my sanity is hanging by a thread. I stop the recording and step back. The blood is pounding so fiercely in my ears I fear they might hear it, but they're far too occupied. The mattress creaking softly and their muffled sounds of pleasure creeping through the door, a cold, detached fury floods me. This is it, the confirmation, the end of any doubt. I could walk away right now, leave them to their business and proceed with my plan clinically. That might be the smart play, but as I clench my fists, I know that's not going to happen. This is my home. They dare defile it while I'm under the same roof? There's no force on earth that could keep me from ending this now. I step forward and shove the bedroom door open with a violent slam. Marissa screams, and her lover jumps up, almost knocking her off him. They fidget, their eyes wide, their faces reflecting disbelief and panic when they see me standing in the doorway. I must look impressive, my chest heaving, my eyes burning, my fists clenched at my sides. I radiate fury like heat from a forge. Mike! Marissa screams. Her lover climbs out of bed, nearly tripping as he awkwardly pulls up his pants. I say nothing, only stare at them menacingly. I am like the embodiment of pure anger, silent and deadly. In the dim light, I see the color drain from my wife's face. The lover's breathing is ragged. He looks ready to flee. Going somewhere? I hiss at the man, my voice low and deadly calm. I take a step into the room. He instinctively backs away, raising his hands. Jesus Christ, Mike, It's not what you think, he stammers, uttering the most pathetic cliche imaginable. I almost laugh at the insult. Really? Because it looks like you were just entertaining my wife in my bed. He turns even paler. I'm sorry, man. I didn't. I interrupt him, lunging forward. I don't even fully realize what I'm about to do. I just want him to leave, to disappear, to vanish without a trace. I grab him by the collar and pin him against the wall. You have 10 seconds to get out of my house, I growl, inches from his face, or I swear someone will have to carry you out. His eyes darted to the side, perhaps seeking Marissa's help, but she was frozen on the bed, clutching the sheet to her body, tears streaming down her cheeks. He raised his trembling hands. Okay, I'm leaving. I release him with a shove. Not even one more second, I bark as he staggers toward the door, yanking his shirt on. If I ever see you again, you're dead. Do you understand me? He nods frantically, his back already to me as he flees down the hallway. In his haste, he bangs into the doorframe, nearly falling. I hear him scamper down the hall and out the front door, not even bothering with the bottle of wine he brought. Coward? Good. One down, one to go. I turn back to Marissa. She hasn't moved from the bed, except now she's pulled on a t-shirt, probably the one she discarded earlier. and is kneeling on the mattress, the sheet wrapped around her waist. She's sobbing now, a hand over her mouth. Her eyes are filled with terror and guilt. Mike, I'm so sorry, she chokes out between sobs. I can explain. I stand there at the foot of the bed, looking at the woman I thought I knew, the mother of my children now caught in the most damning position possible. And I feel nothing but a vast, icy contempt. The heartbreak is buried under an avalanche of cold fury. Explain? I echo softly. All right, this should be good. She flinches at my tone. I never meant to hurt you. It just happened. I was lonely and… Lonely? I snap, voice rising. So that makes it okay to bring a stranger into our home? Have fun with him? While your children's photos are lying on the damn nightstand? I gesture wildly at the framed pictures of our kids beside her, which now look like a grotesque backdrop to this scene. She breaks into fresh sobs, sliding off the bed to the floor, the sheet trailing her like a deflated sail. Please, I'm sorry, it was a mistake. A mistake? I bark out a bitter laugh. No, leaving the oven on is a mistake. Dropping my phone in the toilet is a mistake. You don't accidentally screw someone for weeks or months behind your husband's back. That is a series of conscious, selfish choices. She's on her knees now, sobbing uncontrollably, hands clasped as if in prayer. You have every right to be angry. I've been so wrong. Please, Mike, I'll do anything to fix this. We can get through it, I swear. I'll end it with him. I'll go to counseling. Whatever you want, just don't… She crawls a step toward me, trying to take my hand. I yank my hand back as if her touch is poison. Her words, her pleas, they're exactly what a guilty person would say now that they're caught. And they only stoke my disgust. Fix this? I echo, incredulous. There is no fixing this, Marissa. Do you think I could ever trust you again? Ever look at you and not see what I just saw? My voice cracks, and I hate that it does. But the pain is fighting its way up through the cracks in my anger. She wails. It didn't mean anything. It was just an escape. I never stopped loving you. Shut up, I snarl. The coldness of my tone makes her fall silent, eyes wide. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. You wouldn't have lied day after day, put our kids at risk. I never put the kids at risk, she protests desperately, tears streaming. They never knew. I swear I always made sure… Made sure what? That they didn't catch you sneaking around? Bravo, Mom of the Year! My sarcasm is ice cold. You left our daughter and son with sitters or alone to go meet him, didn't you? Or dragged them along as cover, maybe? God, the thought alone… I shake my head, pacing a few steps to keep from exploding. And giving him a key to our home. You were gonna let him waltz in here whenever, huh? She shakes her head violently. No, I only gave him a key this week because we planned tonight. I was going to get it back. Spare me, I snap. So she admits to copying the key. One more knife of betrayal. She reaches out to clutch at my pant leg, a pathetic gesture. Please, I'll do anything. I'll give you everything, just please. Don't leave me. Don't take the kids. I step back, breaking her hold. You think I'd let you keep them after this? My voice drops to a deadly whisper. I am leaving you, Marissa. There's no question there. And as for the kids, if you think I'm letting them stay with a lying, cheating mother who puts her own lust above their family, think again. Her face goes sheet white. No, Mike, please. She actually bows forward, forehead nearly touching the floor at my feet, sobbing. They're my babies. I'm a good mother. I made a mistake, but I love them. Please don't do this. Please, I beg you. This is the sight of a person utterly broken and pleading. Once, long ago, I might have had it in me to feel pity. But right now, watching her crumble, I feel only a grim satisfaction. She's beginning to feel a fraction of the pain she's caused. You should have thought of them before you spread your legs for another man, I say coldly. She looks up at me, eyes red and wide with horror. I'll do anything, Mike. Please forgive me. We can find a way. I'll make it right. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I stare down at her, my heart a block of ice. There is no forgiveness here. You killed our marriage the moment you started this affair, and now it's time to deal with the consequences. She crawls forward, trying to wrap her arms around my legs in desperation. I push her off, not too gently, and she collapses into racking sobs on the floor. I've seen enough. There's nothing more to say right now that won't be said in a lawyer's office or a courtroom. I turn and walk out to the bedroom, leaving her on the floor. As I head to the living room, I spot that damned bottle of wine he brought, still on the table. On a furious impulse, I snatch it up and hurl it against the wall. It shatters with a violent crash, dark red wine splattering across the plaster like blood. Fitting, her sobs from the bedroom crescendo at the sound. I don't care. I grab my phone from my pocket and stop on seeing the screen still lit. Apparently, it was recording audio this whole time, capturing everything that was just said. Good. I save the file. Maybe it'll be useful, maybe not. But it's there. Finally, I pick up her set of house keys from where she'd tossed them on the entryway table upon letting him in. The two identical keys glint under the lamp, a reminder of how this all began. I stuff them in my pocket. She's lost the privilege of having these now. "Where are you going?" she wails from the hallway, realizing I'm preparing to leave. I glance back to see her standing shakily by the bedroom door, that sheet wrapped around her again. Her mascara is smudged, her hair a mess. She looks pathetic. "I'm going to pick up our kids," I say, voice flat. "They sure as hell aren't coming back here while you're around." She staggers forward. "Please, Mike, don't take them from me. I'll leave tonight if you want. I'll go. Just don't take them." "Oh, you'll be leaving all right." I spit. I swing the front door open. "Consider this the last time you'll ever spend under the same roof as me and the kids. I'll be in touch through my lawyer. And if you try to fight me on any of it, custody, the divorce, I will destroy you, Marissa. I will not rest until you're left with nothing." The venom in my words makes her break into a fresh sob, leaning against the wall for support. I step out into the hall, turning one last time to look at her. You wanted to feel excited and alive. Hope it was worth it. Welcome to the rest of your life. With that, I slam the door behind me, cutting off her choking cries. I stride down the hallway and stairs, not even feeling my feet. My whole body is trembling, adrenaline coursing like fire through my veins. But beneath that, a cold sense of victory is emerging. The facade is over, the truth is out, and now the real battle begins. She begged for mercy, and I gave her none, exactly as she deserved. Chapter 4. True to my word, I pick up our children that night from my mother's house. It tears at my heart to plaster on a smile for them, to pretend everything is okay. They're confused why Mommy isn't with me and why we're not going home, but I tell them Mommy had to go on a trip for a few days and we're having a special sleepover at Grandma's. It's a flimsy story, but they're young enough to accept it, at least for now. As I tuck them into the guest bed, watching their innocent faces, I silently renew my vow. I will protect them from the fallout of this as much as I can. They won't lose their father on top of everything. I'll make sure of that. I step outside to the porch and call Eddie, even though it's late. He picks up on the second ring, and I can tell I dragged him out of bed. I fill him in on what happened. The confrontation, her begging, everything. He's stunned, but stays on task. He urges me to get some rest and meet him first thing Monday to file the paperwork. He also suggests I consider a temporary restraining order to keep her out of the house and away from the kids until custody is sorted, given the volatile situation. I agree. The last thing I need is her trying to snatch the kids or barge back in unexpectedly. That night, I don't sleep at all. I lie awake on my mother's lumpy couch, staring at the ceiling in the dark, replaying the scene over and over. Her words, her sobs, the image of them in our bed, the way she begged when she realized what she stood to lose. It alternates between fueling my anger and scraping at the raw wound in my chest. I remind myself that this pain is precisely why I must see this through. I can never allow myself to be in that position again. On Monday, I take off work again. At this point, I'm sure to catch hell from my boss, but I have more critical battles to fight. I meet Eddie at his office. We draft the divorce petition citing adultery and extreme cruelty, the legal term that basically covers the betrayal, as grounds. We request full legal and physical custody for me, with only supervised visitation for her, citing her poor judgment and the unstable environment she created. Eddie warns me that's aggressive and she might contest, but I want to start with the moon and negotiate down only if absolutely necessary. He files an emergency motion that same day for exclusive use of the marital residence and temporary custody. Given that she isn't there and the evidence of the affair, there's a decent chance a judge will grant it until the divorce is finalized. When Marissa is served the next day, the furious calls begin. I don't answer her directly. Communication now goes through the lawyer. But I read the messages she leaves. They alternate between fury and despair. How could you do this? You can't keep my children from me. In one breath, then, please let's talk, we can work something out. In the next, classic desperate flailing. Through Eddie, I send a clear response. All communication should be between attorneys now, and I make it known I have abundant evidence of her affair, some of which we attach to the petition, like a photo of the lover's car outside our building timestamped, and a transcript of that audio recording of her admissions. The weight of the evidence clearly rattles her side. A week later, we're in a courtroom for a temporary hearing. She shows up with her own lawyer, a scrawny guy who looks fresh out of law school. Perhaps she couldn't afford better, or word got around about how damning her case is and no shark wanted it. She looks worn down, dark circles under her eyes, as if she hasn't slept since that night. I almost don't recognize her. The vibrant, confident woman I knew is gone. In her place is someone timid, nervously wringing her hands. When the judge grants me temporary full custody and orders her to vacate the apartment, not that she's tried to return, she breaks down in silent tears at the bench. Her lawyer pats her shoulder, but there's not much he can do. The evidence of her behavior, and the fact that I already have the kids stable with me, swayed the judge in my favor. As we exit the courtroom, she suddenly rushes toward me. For a second I tense, but it's not anger in her eyes, it's anguish. "Mike, please," she whispers hoarsely, ignoring her attorney's attempts to steer her away. "Don't do this. We can settle this without destroying each other. Think of the kids. They need their mother." I stare at her coldly. I am thinking of them. They'll have their mother, just not as often, and not until I'm convinced her presence won't mess them up. "You brought this on yourself." Her lawyer gently pulls her back, casting me a pleading look to not engage here. I simply turn and walk away, leaving her standing there in the hallway. Over the next several weeks, the legal battle lines are drawn. But it's a lopsided war. I have assembled a damning portfolio of her misconduct. Photos, phone records showing hundreds of texts to the lover's number, the journal excerpts, which we didn't submit officially, but I let her know I had. We also highlight her spending on the affair as dissipation of marital assets. Eddie even subpoenaed her pharmacy work schedule and cross-referenced it with some charges to show she called out of work to meet him on days I was working. Meanwhile, I also quietly ensure she has minimal resources to fight me. With our joint accounts mostly under my control, she's largely dependent on her meager pharmacy wages. I know money will get tight for her, especially if she has to hire a PI or more experts to counter anything. We've effectively starved her of that ability. There is also the psychological warfare. Through her friends and family, many of whom still talk to me, I ensure certain information circulates. Nothing too blatant, but people know she cheated and that I caught her. Her own parents, devout church-going folks, were furious with her. I made sure they saw a couple of the tamer photos of her and her lover to erase any doubt. They've since been pressuring her to do the right thing and let me keep the kids if that's best. She's getting hit from all sides with guilt and shame. At one point, I hear from a mutual friend that the lover, his name, I've learned, is Andrew, has stopped contacting her entirely. In fact, I already knew that because I made sure of it. A few days after the blow-up, once I'd cooled down enough to think about him rationally, I did a little digging. Using his license plate, which I'd managed to catch on camera that night as he fled, and some social media snooping, I found out where he lives and works. Turns out, good old Andrew was married with a baby on the way. Disgusting. I wrestled with it for maybe a day, then decided the bastard deserved whatever he got. I anonymously mailed a package to his wife, her name is Christina, containing printouts of some text messages I pulled from Marissa's phone records, and a couple of the photos I took of the two of them entering our apartment. I included a letter. "Your husband has been having an affair with my wife. You deserve to know the truth." Signed, a sympathetic stranger. It didn't take long to hear the fallout through the grapevine. Andrew's wife threw him out and reportedly started divorce proceedings of her own. Last I heard, he moved to a dingy apartment across town and was battling just to get visitation with their newborn. On top of that, he lost his job as a regional manager for a retail chain. His pregnant wife had been the one with family connections that got him the position, and when she cut him off, he was done. He did try to reach out to me once, oddly. Called me from a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, he started blubbering some apology, saying he never intended to wreck families. I told him in no uncertain terms that if he ever contacted me or anyone in my family again, I'd go straight to the police and report him for any damn thing I could think of. Harassment, trespassing, you name it. And then I hung up. I have zero interest in anything he has to say. As for Marissa, she found out about my little act of vengeance regarding Andrew soon enough. She confronted me about it during a settlement meeting one day, tears in her eyes, saying I'd gone too far by involving innocent people. I just stared at her and said, innocent people, like our kids, maybe? You should be thanking me for making sure he can't hurt any other wives the way you hurt me. She fell silent at that, shamefaced. With her lover's life in shambles and her own support system crumbling, Marissa becomes more and more malleable in our negotiations. Her lawyer tries to put up a fight on certain points, but the guy has little to work with. Eventually, it comes down to this. She agrees to give me primary custody of the children and the apartment, and in exchange, I agree not to pursue a nasty trial or seek punitive damages for the marital assets she wasted. She also waives any claim to spousal support. Frankly, I'd rather chew glass than pay her alimony, and given the circumstances, a judge would likely agree. One afternoon, a few months after that fateful night, we finally sit down for a mediation session to finalize terms. We haven't been in the same room since that courthouse hallway encounter. Now, we're in a sterile conference room at my lawyer's office, me and Eddie on one side of a long table, Marissa and her attorney on the other. She looks like a shadow of her former self. She's dressed conservatively, almost meekly, in a plain sweater and skirt. She's lost weight. The hollows of her cheeks and the way the wedding ring, she still wears it, slides loosely on her finger, are telltale signs. When our eyes meet, hers flicker away in embarrassment. I feel nothing for her. Not love, not even hate at this point. Just a cold detachment, as if she's a stranger. We review the settlement document page by page. It states the obvious. We will divorce on grounds of adultery. I will have full custody of the kids. She will have visitation every other weekend during the day only. No overnights for now. A clause explicitly restricts her from having any unrelated overnight guests present during her visitation time, essentially barring her from bringing a boyfriend around the kids. She will keep her personal belongings and her car, but I keep the apartment and everything in it. She also keeps any debt in her name. She had a couple of credit cards likely used to fund her affair, and those bills are now solely hers. I've agreed to split a small joint CD we had, frankly, a token amount I conceded just to expedite things. She signs each page with a trembling hand. I sign with a steady one. At the end, before we trade papers, she clears her throat. Mike, she says softly. It's the first time she's directly addressed me today. I raise my eyes to hers, waiting. Her lawyer shifts uncomfortably, likely ready to advise her not to say anything off script. Her voice cracks. She swallows and tries again. I know I have no right to ask for anything from you. But I'm begging you, please. Let me have a chance with the kids. Don't shut me out of their lives. Her attorney places a gentle hand on her arm. We have the visitation in place, Marissa, he reminds her quietly. I know, she says, still looking at me. I mean beyond that. I'll do whatever it takes to prove myself as a mother. I'm getting individual therapy, I'll attend parenting classes, anything. Just, in a year or two, maybe you'd reconsider joint custody? If I show you I can be better? Her plea hangs in the air. Eddie looks at me, caution in his eyes. I take a long breath, measuring my words. That will depend entirely on you, I say coolly. It'll take a hell of a lot to convince me that you deserve more than what we've agreed to. Don't expect me to be generous. You put our kids in jeopardy with your choices. That trust is gone. But, I pause, ensuring she hears this next part clearly. If, down the line, I see that it truly is in the kids' best interest to spend more time with you, then we can discuss it. But make no mistake, I will never let them be in a situation like the one you created again. The first time I suspect you're putting them second to your own desires, the first time you violate one of these terms, it's over. I'll come after whatever little you have left and ensure you don't even get supervised visits. Are we clear? Tears roll down her cheeks as she nods. Yes, crystal clear. I nod to Eddie, and he slides the papers over for final signatures. It's done. Just like that, 12 years of marriage dissolve into ink on paper. As we stand to leave, I feel a strange weight lift from my shoulders. It's not joy exactly, but it is a grim sense of accomplishment. I set out to make her pay and to protect my children, and I've achieved that. She's leaving this marriage with nothing she didn't originally come in with. Meanwhile, I have my kids, our home, and the bulk of our assets. She'll have to start over from scratch at nearly 40 with a tarnished reputation and the label of adulteress following her. Not to mention she's alone. Her lover is long gone, and even her own family's support is lukewarm at best. On our way out, I catch a final glimpse of Marissa as she lingers gathering her things. She looks small, defeated. In that moment, I feel absolutely no sympathy. She made this bed and now she can lie in it, alone. Outside the office, the late autumn sun is shining, an odd contrast to the somber mood inside. Eddie congratulates me on the outcome, if you can call any of this a win. It feels like a hollow victory in some ways. There's no joy in tearing apart your family, even if you were the wronged party. But there is satisfaction. The satisfaction of knowing I stood up for myself, that I didn't roll over and let her walk away unscathed. In the weeks that follow, life settles into a new routine. The kids and I stay living at the apartment. I change the locks first thing, of course. The physical act of doing it, unscrewing the old deadbolt, fitting in a brand new one, feels symbolic, like I'm sealing off the past. Each click of the lock pins falling into place is a reassurance that the sanctity of our home will never be violated like that again. When the kids ask about Mommy, I stick to a gentle version of the truth, that we both love them very much, but we can't be married anymore. I say Mommy made a big mistake that hurt our family, and we're living apart because of it. Amelia, sharp girl that she is, seems to grasp more than she lets on. She stops asking for Mommy at bedtime after a while, and I sometimes catch a glint of anger in her eyes when her mother's name is mentioned. Tommy is younger and mostly just misses her. That part hurts. No denying it. I encourage them to talk to her on the phone when she calls during her scheduled times, and I keep my personal feelings out of those interactions. She's still their mother, and I won't poison that well unless I truly have to. They'll form their own judgments when they're older, I suspect. On her first supervised visit with the kids at a family center, I see how the mighty have fallen. She's overly grateful to me for bringing them, and she dotes on the children with desperate energy, trying so hard to win their affection. It's good for the kids to see she cares, I suppose. But when Tommy innocently asks, "Mama, why are you not at home with us?" I watch her face crumple. "Because Mama made a mistake, sweetie," she whispers, her eyes flicking to me, "and I have to live somewhere else now." Amelia just crosses her arms and listens, not saying a word. The mother in front of me now is not the one who cheated so casually. She's a chastened, remorseful shell, and maybe that's good for the children in the long run. Maybe she will indeed be a better mother now, humbled and focused. Time will tell. My guard isn't dropping one bit. As for me, I dive into rebuilding our lives. I keep working hard at the plant, even taking a promotion that comes up to shift supervisor, which means a bit more pay and slightly better hours. The guys at work know something went down. A couple of them heard rumors of why I divorced Marissa. They slap my back and call me a tough son of a gun for sticking it to her. I just nod. It's not something I want to celebrate loudly. But yeah, I guess I am a tough SOB now. You don't go through hell and come out the other side soft. One chilly December evening, I'm sitting in the living room with the kids. The twinkle lights of the small Christmas tree we put up together cast a warm glow. The kids are busy with a board game on the rug. I'm nursing a cup of coffee, watching them, and feeling something I haven't in a long time: peace. The doorbell rings, unexpected. I open it to find a delivery man with a large envelope. It's the final divorce decree, arriving by certified mail. I sign for it and close the door. Standing in the entryway where I once found those cursed keys, I open the envelope and pull out the papers. It's official now. I'm divorced. Free. I fold the decree and set it aside. My eyes land on the coat hook where Marissa used to hang her purse and keys. It's empty now. In a small box in the closet, I have those two identical keys I confiscated that night. I kept them, oddly enough, a reminder of what I survived. Perhaps one day I'll throw them out, but not today. Today, I'm content to lock up this house with the new keys on my ring and settle in with my children for a quiet night. "Dad, it's your turn," Amelia calls, holding out the dice for our game. "All right, sweetheart, I'm coming," I reply. I take one last look around the home I've defended. No, reclaimed, from deceit. Then I sit down on the carpet with my kids and pick up the dice, ready to move forward with the life we have now. In this life, there's no room for betrayal, no tolerance for deceit. I paid the price once. I made sure the ones who wronged me paid theirs in full. Now it's just me and my kids forging on. And as I watch them giggle and strategize over the game, I know one thing for certain. We're going to be okay. The end. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, so subscribe to my channel and watch the next video.